VTuber drama. I blocked out the person's name because they basically made a lot of tweets stating that they were upset about this scenario. I'm gonna put a whole bunch of disclaimers because I have my thoughts about this and there's very specific ways I want to word this and I want to make my intention clear, okay? There's two ways to approach looking at this drama, this scenario. You can approach it from the VTuber perspective, or you can approach it from the artist perspective. Unfortunately, with VTubers, there's no way to remove the two. You can't separate the art and the VTuber. It goes together. And with this scenario, depending on which lens you look at it, it is different because when you look at it from a VTuber perspective, there's one take to it. And if you look at it from the artist perspective, there is another take. I am not a VTuber, I am an artist. So the things that I say will be clouded with the bias of somebody who is an artist. Another caveat, please don't send hate to the VTuber if you know who they are. I purposely didn't show their name because I don't want to make people send hate towards them, etc. Sending hate to people is never cool. This is a scenario though that I have seen happen time and time again in the VTuber space. And it's the issue of copying other VTubers. So this is a tweet that was put out by said VTuber on the left stating, last post about this, if you still don't like me, that's fine, I understand and respect that, just please leave me alone, I am tired of the harassment. They have basically been compared to Shy Lily a lot. And if you don't know who Shy Lily is, she is the VTuber on the right. Very popular VTuber with like 500,000 followers on Twitter alone. So absolutely huge VTuber. The VTuber on the left is one that is set to debut in July, and they've been receiving a lot of hate for copying Shy Lily. They put out this graphic circling a lot of elements of how they are different to Shy Lily. How they have, well, first off, the most notable is the color palette. Obviously, Shy Lily is blue and white, and the left design is split-dyed purple and blonde, with majority of purple being the color palette. They have star jellies on the ears, a little flip up here. The tail has a little different design on it. It's a different crisscross design. They have tattoos on the hands. They have fins on the legs. As somebody who is an artist, who sometimes dabbles in character design, whatever, I would say that both models initially on first glance look relatively different with the elements, but you can't deny that the silhouette of the model is very similar. And what I mean by silhouette is something that is, if you were to completely black out the model, the shapes of the outline of the model is so similar. With the curve of the tail, which obviously they're referencing a whale or a dolphin, and this is just how a dolphin tail looks like. You just can't change it. But the top with the bow design on the front and the cross strap and the skirt with the frills, the silhouette looks damn similar. You can say, oh, the hair has a flip on the bottom or there's fins on the legs, but it's very similar looking. If you do look at the finer details, there's a lot of elements that are quite different, but without a doubt, you can see that this artist or whomever came up with the design, maybe it was the VTuber, maybe it was they had a character artist, whatever. I don't know who made this design, right? The person who makes the design isn't always the VTuber. Sometimes the VTuber has some ideas and somebody else makes the design for them. I don't know whether they were both made by the same artist, but I know that this VTuber heavily referenced Shy Lily's model in the creation of their model. This VTuber basically stated a while back, they stated in January, I found the tweet and then I can go find it again if I really need the receipts. They stated in January that they did reference Shy Lily. So it's a known fact. This VTuber is kind of upset that a lot of people are making comparisons between their model to Shy Lily's model. Here's the thing. This is now the VTuber side of this debate, right? It is a known thing in the VTuber community that a lot of VTuber viewers like to compare indie models together, and just VTubers in general. They will compare smaller indie VTubers to bigger VTubers of a same category, as in whale VTubers or sea VTubers or cat VTubers. Here's the thing, there is so many freaking pink cat girl VTubers out there that it is not a unique concept. Nobody owns the concept of a cat girl VTuber. A Shy Lily is an orca, I believe, right? Shy Lily does not own the concept of being an orca VTuber. There is gonna be other orca VTubers. Bao doesn't own the concept of being a whale VTuber. There will be other whale VTubers. There will be other sea character VTubers out there. There's a whole problem in the VTuber community where VTuber viewers will compare one cat girl to another cat girl, or two VTubers will have a similar color palette because, let's face it, there's like what, 7 colors in the rainbow. There's not too much color exploration we can do out here, okay? There's only so many color combinations you can do before VTubers will start unintentionally repeating color palettes of other VTubers. It's literally just there is a statistical limited number of colors that we can work with. I do think this is a scenario where the comparison between their model and Shy Lily's model is not fully unwarranted. If you are the VTuber and you're constantly getting compared to somebody else, is it annoying? Of course it must be annoying. I have VTuber friends that literally had to like rebrand because people kept comparing them to insert some animal large VTuber that they also happen to be the same animal of. The difference is again the character design, and this is where it comes to differentiating your model with another model. If you reference another VTuber model, that's totally fine in your character design. This is just how art works, right? People reference other designs all the time. If you tell me that said VTuber is completely unique and has never referenced anybody's design before in my life, I would probably say that you're lying, because there is no way in hell a VTuber has not in some way, shape, or form referenced another VTuber model. The issue now comes into is how much you reference the model. And I think the problem is, even though this VTuber differentiated themselves with, other little elements like shoulder markings and star jellies and tattoos on the hands and feet, the problem is if you look at it from the artist perspective, I am an artist, the general character silhouette and a lot of the core elements of the model is so similar. Again, on first glance, the most identifying elements, right? Like the most obvious elements are what people are gonna see first. The height, the clothing, the color palette, which is different. So I will give them that the color palette is quite different. But like large elements, the tail, which again, they are both sea creature VTubers, so they will have a tail, but the ears, they both have floppy ears. They're wearing the same outfit essentially, just different, kind of like small little differences, but the outfit is still basically very similar. And I think that's where the issue arises. I would even say if this model had a different outfit, as in they had a long skirt, or they had shorts, or they had like, maybe not like a sailor bow on the front, people actually wouldn't compare them that much. But because the main elements of their model and the outfit is so similar, that's where the comparisons happen. And here's the thing, from an artist perspective, as an artist, right? If you change only the small elements of a design, but still heavily reference the main elements of somebody else's artwork, the problem is going to arise where people who see your artwork, they're going to only see it on a first glance. Most people without a trained eye don't fully identify all the small little core elements of your model. And they're just gonna be like, oh shoot, floopy ears and big whale tail and sailor outfit? Yeah, well, see two models that look similar. Have you seen the trend where like girls will ask their boyfriends like, oh, I did something different, did you notice? And they like cut their hair. Of course the boyfriend doesn't freaking notice because like they're giga unobservant. Like unless you have a trained eye in which you are trained to look for these little details, you're not going to grab that as a differentiating factor. And that's where I think the issue comes in. Is it again really frustrating to be a VTuber, which has like your core element design and it's your character, your avatar, and to constantly be compared to somebody else? Yes. However, I think it's a little bit unrealistic to reference somebody else's design quite heavily in a lot of the elements and then get upset that you got compared. Talking about the silhouette, we can go over here to this tweet put up by Araiguma Soli, okay? Who has a background in character design. They are an art director. I'm a bit tired of seeing this happening all the time, so I made this to exemplify why people sometimes just compare designs of others. Value, colors, details are lesser in the hierarchy. They dictate what's within the bigger frame. This is what I was referring to, right? The major elements of a character cannot be too similar or people will start comparing. So this one, they flipped it. So remember, the fins is the split dyed hair VTuber and the no fins is Shy Lily. So here's the thing, right? The overall shape language is really similar. The height is similar, but that's like a minor thing, right? Like even if you look at it, the tail is about the same size. One is obviously fluffy, one isn't, but the size is about the same. The placement of the tail on the silhouette is the same. The hair follows the same structure, which again, almost all long hair VTubers have the hair stick closer to their head and then past the neck, it will flow out and then tuck back in around mid-thigh. That is a common design with long-haired VTubers, that is not unique. But it's just when all of the elements combine together with the same size tail and the floppy ears and the long hair that their silhouette starts to look very similar. And then Arai pointed out these two VTubers who look quite different. And it's because even though they have the same design, we can tell they're both some sort of sea creature with a tail, right? But the distinction is quite different, not only in the height, but the silhouette, with this one having like a thing on the head, this model having floppy ears, and like what looks like 3 gills. Yeah, I believe this is Gura's model. This looks like Gura. I actually don't know which model this one is. But like, you know, hair frills sticking out that looks like gills. You can see a large oversized jacket. Whereas this one has like a very, very long coat that extends to like their mid-thigh. So even though they do have similar designs, the big elements of their character design is quite different. I definitely think nobody should be threatening this VTuber, etc. Look, art referencing is so common, especially among VTubers, because VTubers will see a VTuber with a cool design and everyone's gonna be like, I want this design too. Imitation is the best form of flattery. I don't think that's something that warrants death threats. I think that is really out of the realms. I'm just saying, if you heavily reference somebody's design, I don't think they copied, but if you do heavily reference somebody's design, you then cannot be upset that people are now comparing you to the VTuber that you referenced. So Arai said, you can't create something unique amongst so many VTubers is the most lame, lazy excuse you could ever come up with to defend this. I absolutely agree. I hate this take so much. When people say, oh, it's like there's so many designs, so I can't be unique. Or when they say, art copying and art theft happens, so we should just suck it up. Okay, I again, do not think the VTuber copied Shylily, but it is heavily referenced. I just don't like that take personally, as somebody who has had my art stolen over and over and over again. This is a complete side tangent. I make frog emotes on Etsy, okay? The amount of times I've had people copy my frog designs is gross. I do not own the concept of frogs. I do not own the concept of frog emotes, but goddamn, you don't have to make it look exactly like mine. Like, can you make the eyes look a little different? Or like the color slightly different? Or the body shape kind of different? There's like a line, and then once you cross that line, then it's like, ugh. But yeah, the VTuber community is very gun heavy, as in, the moment somebody steps slightly out of the line, they will like jump down your throat. And I don't like that about the VTuber community. It's kind of icky. But yeah, you can be a whale or orca with drastically different shape languages. The shapes, the silhouettes, everything extremely different. Again, here's an example of somebody's silhouette that it looks very unique. I'm not a VTuber. I consume a lot of VTuber content though. And I don't remember seeing a VTuber that ever has a silhouette looking like this. So again, I'm just saying, like, there's ways you can modify the model to look different. And then we have people like this who say, how about we just stop comparing people? No one's forcing you to go tell people, hey, your design looks like X, just leave them be. You can choose to keep scrolling. If you have a design that heavily references another VTuber, you can't be upset that they then compare you to said VTuber that you heavily referenced. That's just how it works. To be blunt, if you look at it, if you take a step back and you squint a little bit, which is how you do the silhouette test, if the design still looks really similar, you may need to change it a little bit.